I'll tell you what, guys, I love coming home and finding goodies on the front porch. Looks like we got our intercooler today. See if we can't get this open. I have some scissors up here on the toolbox. Searching for some scissors. Alright. So anyway, I had told you guys that we were going to get our hot side piping done this weekend. And I got some unfortunate news from my work today. Apparently we have lost yet another employee, and my weekend rotation was moved up. I was not supposed to have to work until next weekend, but now, because we only have 5 people in the weekend rotation, or 4 people in the weekend rotation instead of 5, that means I got moved up and I have to work this weekend. Now, what don't look bad for a cheap intercooler. Hopefully it doesn't leak. Tell you what, guys, I'm using my iPhone instead of my regular camera, so if I can get this out of here. There we go. It looks like it comes with brackets and mounting hardware. I didn't know if it would come with all that. Oh, this is nice. There it is. It's Emusa. Or as I like to call it, cheap Chinese junk that hopefully works. Alright, well, we got our intercooler. Anyway, what I was saying is I'm still, the bag's ripped open with all the hardware. So the hardware's all over the bottom of the box here. That's alright. So, what I was just saying is, I'm still going to try to work on the hot side some this weekend, but what I might end up doing is just holding that video footage, you know, until I get the hot side done, because I don't want to just piece together little videos of it. I'd like to, you know, at least show like one video of each step. So, you know, like I want to do one video of us fabbing up the hot side, one video of us putting together the, you know, the cold side with the intercooler and everything, and then you know, maybe a fuel system video, on and on and so forth and so forth. So anywho, this seems to be a pretty popular intercooler to use for this. It is it's about 12 inches high. Well, I think in the measurements on the eBay ad, it takes these nipples into account too, these little mounting nipples. So I think it was like 13 by 31 by 3 inches thick is the size intercooler that I got for this. And I can see, like, this looks like it's leaned over a little. Of course, it may just be an optical illusion because of the shitty welds. Obviously, my buddy John, the low car welder, didn't do this, but I don't care. As long as it's sealed up and I can get it mounted up, that's all that matters to me. I don't really have a whole lot of daylight left, but I kind of want to just see how this thing's going to fit in here. I can see already I'm going to have some issues. I've got this support in the way here. I was hoping I wouldn't have to move the radiator, but it looks like what I might have to do is actually take the radiator out and bring the intercooler in from the back, because I can't bring it in from below because of this middle support, it wraps down and attaches there. I don't want to get rid of the middle support because eventually I want to put a stock style 73 through 74 C10 grill in here, and it's going to require this middle support. Now there's enough room, it looks like, well, I don't know. It looks like there's enough room for the intercooler to fit, you know, between this support and the radiator, no problem. I mean, more than enough room. But I don't know, because the thing is, I don't want the intercooler to sit too high. Like, my original plan is I wanted the intercooler to just barely be peeking up. Like, I really want it mounted down close to the ground. I'm almost thinking I probably should have gotten an intercooler with the inlets facing down instead of out to the side, because I think what's going to happen is I'm going to end up having to do a bunch of cutting and clearancing on this on these radiator supports here. Matter of fact, I'm almost positive that's what's going to have to happen. We are definitely going to have to do some cutting here. I guess I really should have came out here and measured and did a little more research figuring out how we were going to put this in before I actually ordered it. Like I said, sorry, I'm grunting, guys. I'm old and I'm moving around, and when old people move around, they grunt, right? Like I said, ideally, I want the intercooler to be mounted here. Like, I really want probably this much of the intercooler to be down here, well, maybe not below the bumper, but, you know, in that area. And the reason I wanted that was so that these inlets would be past all this stuff. But now that I'm looking, my frame rails, I think, are too wide to allow me to do that. Even if I cut some of this out to allow the intercooler to come up from the bottom, it's still not going to work out, because I don't believe that the intercooler is going to fit between the frame rails. If I could just get those top, what is that, about 5 inches? Yeah, those top about 5 inches up here, you're probably not even going to see it with the grill in. Most of it's going to be below the truck, actually. So my plan at this point is to cut my frame in the front. Not completely off, but you know, you've got your it's not really boxed in, it's like a C channel in your frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a notch 3 inches wide in the top and bottom of the frame. At this point, the only thing the frame's doing out here is holding the front bumper on. Nothing else is attached to it, I don't think. No, nothing else is attached to it past that point. So what we're going to try to do is notch that out kind of at an angle, and we'll bring the intercooler up from the bottom, and the intercooler will actually be tilted like that, kind of angled back, and you may see a little bit of the intercooler sticking out the bottom underneath the bumper there, and you know, you'll probably see a little bit of the popping, but that's my plan as of right now. Just let the intercooler kind of hang down below the truck a few inches, and what we might do is like paint the bottom half of the intercooler black so it kind of blends in. But I almost like that, because the reason I don't want to just mount it in front of the radiator is because, well, for obvious reasons, it's going to affect the cooling of the radiator. for one. For two, we're going to be adding a transmission cooler at some point, an auxiliary cooler, and then at some point after that, I'm hoping to add air conditioning. So I'm going to have room to put the condenser up here as well. So that's why I don't want to just, you know, cut these bars out and just put the intercooler right here, because I've got other plans for that space. Now the transmission cooler, I could just get a frame rail mount transmission cooler and be done with that, but we would still need room up here for our air conditioner condenser eventually, because don't forget guys, this is going to be a daily driver. So what I'm probably going to do is run this idea by John, see what he thinks about it. He'll probably take some measurements too. We'll get this figured out, and if he thinks this is a good idea, then you know, that's what we'll roll with. If not, then I may just send this intercooler back and maybe order one that's not as wide, and that the you know, the ports, the inlet and outlet, aims straight down. The reason I wanted the intercooler to hang down below the bumper a little bit anyway, to make running my intercooler piping easier, because I figured I'd just elbow off and go straight back and then come up inside the right in front of the fender well there, and that's where the turbo is going to be. And then on this side, same thing, you know, I can go back, come out right in front of the fender well on this side, which would be right under the battery tray, and then bring it over and up to the throttle body. So that's why, you know, from the very get-go, I had planned on having a little bit of the intercooler showing down here at the bottom, but we don't want too much showing, because I mean the truck sits fairly low. We don't want to drag our intercooler on something. Well, I guess that's our basic plan. Like I said, we'll run that by John and see what he thinks about the whole idea, because he's going to be the one that's doing on most of the cutting and fabbing. Well, I'll be doing most of the cutting, but he'll definitely be doing all of the fabbing. So we'll see what he thinks about that. And getting dark, starting to get dark out here now, so I'll go ahead and go in the house and get to working on something else. If you guys like this video, you know, this project is actually getting underway now, so if you want to keep track of it, subscribe, like, and share the video. I'll see you next time on Bad Luck Garage.